Alright folks, today I'm going to be showing you how I made the Shrieking Wind Phantom Lynblade from Blade & Soul, which is this thing from this game. And my version of it came out to be this guy right here. Okay, starting off, this is a sword, so it does need internal support. And for that I used the same thing I always do, which is just a steel rod that was cut to size using a hacksaw. And for swords I like to start from the top and work my way down. So starting with the blade, I made that 2 layers of 10mm foam thick, and I cut out a socket for that rod to fit in using an X-Acto knife, and then glued everything in place. I cut off the edge bevel and the tip taper using my box knife, and sanded it down using the Dremel as usual. Now the tip of this sword is very skinny.
Crush you, skinny!
So to prevent it from breaking or tearing, I encased the whole thing in Worbla. But as for those flower engravings on the flat of the blade, I used 2mm foam for that. The flower part had to be cut out using an X-Acto knife. And that's when the blade really blossomed, if you ask me. So with the blade complete, it was time to move on to the hilt. For this one part, I used a styrofoam sphere. And to be honest, I was really having a ball at this point, because the rest of the hilt was actually pretty easy to do. For every single piece on this part of the hilt, I cut out circles of 10mm foam and gave them all bevels using my Dremel. However, this one part had rivets on it, and for those I just super glued small acrylic gems to it. And as for this part, it had engravings on it, so I just used the wood burner for that, and this turned out pretty okay. Once that entire part was done, I connected that to the blade, and it was then time to move on to the handle itself. The handle was 2 pieces of 10mm foam glued together, with a socket cut out of it for that metal rod to fit in. For this I sanded off all the corners to make it more comfortable to hold, and for the straps on the handle, I engraved those on using a wood burner. That is, if you're an idiot like me. That turned out really horribly, so that idea burnt out on me. So after discarding that failed attempt of a handle, I tried again, but instead of using a wood burner, I just cut out strips of 2mm foam and glued those on. And that turned out a lot better. And after adding the handle itself to the rest of the prop, the very last thing to make was the pommel. And to make it I used the exact same method as this part of the hilt right here, just cutting out circles and sanding them down. And yes, I made it unscrewable too, so you can end him rightly. And after attaching the pommel to the rest of the sword, the construction was complete. I gave it 2 coats of PlastiDip for primer as usual. Now for the paint job, I painted the entire thing using a Copic marker airbrush. And I have a specific reason for it. If you want to know, look in the comment section. However, the marker ink doesn't appear for jack nor crap on black primer. You can see in this picture that's one uniform coat of blue, and you can't see it. So I had to go out and get white primer, and apply 2 coats of that instead. There's also a bit of a story behind the white primer too. If you want to know about it, look in the comment section once again. And after doing so and trying again with the marker ink, it's really quite visible on white primer. It's pretty nice. The first color I used was processed blue, and to apply it, the process was pretty simple. But yeah, I used the same method, just with different colors across the entire sword. The only thing that I had to do by hand were the highlights and the weathering. And I always add those just for the sake of making the edges pop out more. But here's the thing, painting an entire prop with the Copic airbrush is not very practical, because the markers themselves are kind of expensive.
Tell him to make it count.
And the Copic marker ink scrapes off really easily. So this method wouldn't be my first, Copic. However, it was still fun, it was enjoyable. So to protect it from scraping off, I just added 1 coat of matte Mod Podge. But one saving grace about Copic markers is the finish they give off is just gorgeous. I mean, look at this thing. I was really pleased with it after finishing it. But yeah, we're done, and it turned out pretty well, I think. And I'm happy to actually have it too. This wasn't a commission, this was for myself. And I'll definitely keep this, it's got sentimental value.
It has more sentimental than monetary value.
But if you would like me to make one of these for you, there is a link in the video description that will take you to my Etsy shop. You can just go ahead and place an order or contact me and we'll go from there. Any suggestions you have, whether it's to make my content better or ideas for props in the future, the best place to do that is in the comment section. And a higher subscriber count is always nice, but that is up to you. Thanks a lot, friend, for taking the time to watch my video. And that's going to do it for this one, folks. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next build.